Hey, what's going on? It's Bebop here. I'm going to be showing you my musket setup. I was able to hit 31,000 shot in Savage Divide last week, and I'm going to show you how I managed to get there. We'll start off with the attributes first. 350 int for the extra 10% ability damage, and for the 7% damage to targets below 50% health. 25 strength dot for the 5% light attack damage. And if we go, and that's with 44 stat food. And if we go over the musket skill tree, you always want to start off with the power shot first, which is going to do 160% weapon damage, add an additional 30% damage to hostile AI targets. When you hit a power shot, gain an empower, increasing damage to 10% for 5 seconds. And that's why I always start off with power shot first and then go to powder burn to get the burn higher. And I'll show you that in a second. Power shot still 10% additional damage to targets with full health. And power shot headshot reduces power shot's cooldown by 15%. I did go with this dot to speed up the reload time. Hit 2 or more targets with a single shot. Next duration of reload is halved. The powder burn is going to overload your gun with gunpowder, and you're going to do 110% weapon damage, and a flick burn that deals 20% weapon damage as fire for 9 seconds, which is really going to go up higher than that, maybe up to 14-15 seconds with debuffs. It's such a good dot to add to the enemies. And standard musket shots after you burn targets will deal 12% damage if they hit a burning target. Right here on successful headshots, gain empower, increasing damage dealt by 10% for 5 seconds. And then I have shooter stance, which is I also have empowering shooter stance on the close, which is going to get you to an empower cap. But this is going to put you in a stance that's going to allow you to do up to 5 shots. And this is where you're going to do a lot of your damage here and get your cooldowns. I'll show you that here in a second and explain it more. Successful hit with a musket grants an stackable 2.5 damage increase. Effect ends after more than 5 seconds pass between shots. And musket deals, basically the bottom one, 5% damage to targets within 50 meters. This is the better ultimate than this one. I know they buffed this one a while back, but this one's still better. Grants 15% damage to all headshots. And you have an inherent weapon bleed here. If you hit multiple targets with a single shot, your next shot will do inflict a bleed that deals 15% weapon damage for every 5 seconds. It says multiple targets. A lot of people think 3, it's actually 2. So as long as you hit 2, your next shot's going to then do a weapon bleed. Right here, 10% damage to targets below 30% health. Hitting a target with active debuff grants empower, increasing your damage by 5% for 5 seconds. You could get rid of this dodge, gives you haste if you want to go for more damage, and you could pick this one. Now this one reloads a musket instantly after a dodge. It's got a little bit of a cooldown every 6 seconds. 10% extra damage to targets with an active crowd control status debuff, slow, root, or stun. Now I did not get this one because it does not work in shooter stance. It's only when you're standing, and I'm going to try to hit most of my big shots with the shooter stance, not this. So if you're wondering, that's why. Now, if you have this and you go and aim down sight with your musket, you'll see your musket start to glow. When it's at full glow form, that's when you have your extra 10% damage after you aim down sights more than 2 seconds. It does not do that in shooter stance. So those are the reasons. Let's go over the gear real quick. Weapons. Thwarting strikes on the rapier. On the musket, this is the musket I was using. Keen, vicious, refreshing power shot. If you want to try to hit the ultimate high shot you can hit, you're not going to go with this setup. This is what I just use for regular dungeon runs. I wasn't trying to just max it out and geek it out. I will do that next time Savage comes around, because I think I can get over 35k. Just got to have the right setup. Maybe Vorpal, attunement, something else. We'll see with the room glass. But yeah, this is what I went with. And then of course the cunning, heart rune, and firestorm is usually what I run. Empowerment lasts longer right here with the amulet, and of course thrust damage. And then all the clothing, there's going to be a lot of magnify here. So enchanted ward and refreshing, so you can have your max refreshing. Tune leather pants. And then right here, your empowering shooter stance. Hitting a target in shooter stance grants a stackable empower, increasing damage by 11% for 6 seconds. The effect is removed when stance is exited. Max 4 stats. So 44 empowerment plus 10% from the from the tank. Hopefully it's 10% from the tank, but I'm sure you'll have other empowerment and going. You're going to be empower capped, so that's when you're going to do the most damage. And that's about it. You know, make sure you take your, you know, powerful honing stones and all that good stuff. All right, let me show you the rotation here. The power shot should always be first, and then you can dodge into a burning shot. This is say if you have a grenade and not the shooter stance. So I'm just going to show you. If I start off with the powder burn first and then roll into a power shot, I'm not going to aim for the head, just to kind of show you consistency here. It's going to be 787 power burn or powder burn. Now, if we start off with the power shot, oh, I thought I shot. And then you go to the powder burn. There's a pretty good difference there in powder burn bleed damage. So always start off with the power shot. Plus your power shot's going to do more damage to enemies with full health. So you can start off here and there. So that's almost 1,000 bleed. This is a enemy with no debuffs. So it's almost 1,000 bleed. I've gotten this bleed up to 1,700 as the highest. And the thing about 1,700 ticking, well, I mean, normally it'll be like, you know, 1,200 to 1,500 if so. But imagine that bleed just ticking for, you know, 9 to 14, 15 seconds. I mean, it's just nasty. That's why if I speed run, I don't go shooter stance. Obviously, I go with grenade. I would run up to a mob, throw the grenade, and then I would hit the powder burn shot. I mean, the power shot and then the powder burn. And then I just go immediately right into a rapier. All right, so if you hit 2 targets, right, and then the next shot will deal a weapon bleed also. So you have an inherent, basically keenly jagged. Sorry. So 2 shots, not 3. It says multiple. Most people take 3. It's 2. Now, if we go into shooter stance, I'll start off with power shot and then powder burn. Powder shot rotates back, and there you go. That's how you would do it. Now, of course, with an enemy with a lot of debuffs and once the health gets below 30%, that's when you'll do your biggest damage. All right, let me show you what it's like in a shooter stance here. I'm gonna try to get to where I can hit 3 in a row, but that one's at a weird bend, so I doubt it. But yeah, I'll start off in shooter stance, go power shot, then powder burn, back to power shot. And you can see how you start stacking up the damage with the bleeds and the burns. I mean, that's almost basically a 2,000 a tick for, I don't know, 7-8 seconds for the bleed, 6 seconds, and then 9 to 14 seconds, depending on how much extra debuffs are on the enemy. So that's why when you see my video in Savage Divide, it's just when I hit a mob, oh my god, it's so much damage. It's nasty, dude. Musket's definitely underrated in that aspect, but all right, well, I hope y'all enjoyed the video. If there's anything else I can show y'all, let me know. Make sure you don't forget your orichalcum bullets, and I'll talk to y'all later.